course, Sona. Spuddington, what do you think about this picks and bans?
Alright, so we are obviously on the new patch and I haven't seen too much competitive play so far with it, but not surprised to see the Warwick ban. For anyone who hasn't, played any games at all in solo queue, he has become hideously overpowered, but by virtue of the fact that the red smite, the damage increasing smite, synergizes with his ult and means he can burst you down from 100 to 0 with 2 offensive items, whilst also being Warwick and very tanky and difficult to kill. So yeah, kind of difficult.
Very difficult to deal with. We do see some other bans coming out here, of course. Elise, Jarvan and Corki being banned out from the side of H2k. Gnar, Warwick and Aurelia from Gamers2. Just a quick note for everyone, Crixus is JWow, and Spartacus is Ocelot, and SSW Dog is Forbidden. So we'll be calling them by their real names for most of the game, I think, as opposed to calling them Crixus or Spartacus or Dog, as Forbidden would like to be called there in the mid lane for H2k.
Just call him Samsung White, it's fine.
Oh yeah. Here comes
the
Samsung
whole of
White.
Samsung White is in mid lane.
The entire team has joined the fight.
I think that might be a tricky one to win for Gamers2.
Ever so slightly, especially since they'd be a 1v9, a 5v9, sorry. It wouldn't be quite as bad as a normal solo queue game. Oduamne has picked up Lee Sin here for H2k and Jace the gamers. Now, Ocelot actually played a really good Jace in his in the group stages, went 7-0-6 on that champion. Of course, Gamers2 came out second in their group, whereas H2k came out top of their group, not dropping a single game. Do you think that's going to play on the minds of Gamers2?
Well, Gamers2, they've had some really inconsistent performances, so it's always hard to know what's stuck with them. I am gonna be surprised if they lock this in. I've always held the LeBlanc to be a Ryu-only pick, and I mean, Forbidden possibly could make it work because he is a phenomenally strong and versatile mid laner, but Ahri is like his go-to. Even among all the other champions in the game, Ahri is the one that is most reliable, most easy to work with.
In fact, he played that in the group stages as well. I think he ended up going 6-7 on it, so not having the best performance, but made some really good plays for his team. And he likes that Deathfire Grasp on Ahri as well, trying to pick out the enemy as much as he can. It'll be difficult against Jace in the mid lane. Ahri, very mobile and can get around the fight really easily, but against someone like Jace who's relatively safe, has good long range poke, she's going to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, it might be possible at the level 6 period with that ultimate to set up kills on Jace, because if you do get in range, then... And obviously, Jace can't just farm with Shock Blast forever. If you get the situation where Ahri can get in range to Ladder Charm, it's not like he's got anything except his flash to keep himself alive. So there's potential there, especially with Lulex on the Lee Sin. That is like that's also his #1 reliable champion, which is a bigger factor for Lulex than most junglers to make sure he gets that Lee. So I've got to say they're getting a lot of their picks that they do like here.
Yeah, Hjarnan picking up at Graves as well is going to be really interesting in the bot lane. I've seen a lot of Graves in the recent patch. There's not massive changes, but True Grit as his passive really does help him out, especially since early resistances have been nerfed ever so slightly. He can do a lot of damage in that bot lane, especially if you team him up with a strong support like a Thresh, someone who can lock down the enemy and actually really just help you isolate them out with the buckshot. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some really strong early action coming out here from H2k.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's hard to say who's going to be the instigator, though, because Gamers2, Yuki and Kasing are like the classic aggressive bot lane. They always want to go in, to trade hard, to trade aggressively. Sometimes that can get punished, sometimes there's a jungler waiting. But if you're going up against a Graves Thresh, there's as much firepower to match you back, and Hjarnan and Voidal are... perhaps not quite as aggressive in style, but still very, very versatile, and they're not going to get out-traded easily, basically, on a skill level or on a champion selection level.
Yeah, we are just about to find out who that Teemo pickup actually is. We have to assume it's not going to be a Teemo top lane coming out here for H2k, although...
Oh, obviously it's a
very
Teemo mid lane.
frustrating to play against. Oh. Yeah, maybe a Teemo mid lane with Ahri going into the top, but I sincerely doubt it. Now, Nocturne is someone we haven't really talked about yet, Spuddington. Very strong in the current jungle because of his AoE clear in 4.19. 4.20 makes it a little bit harder for him, but he can sustain relatively well, has a lot of damage, and actually going to see the LeBlanc locked in at the end as well there from Gamers2.
Alright, so that would imply that it's probably a Jace top.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure though. That might also be a placeholder for them. We can't guarantee because it's the last pick. A LeBlanc is like a sensible pick, but it might not be. Still, Timo
LeBlanc
is apparently Rumble.
Okay, so Ocelot trolled me ever so slightly saying LeBlanc is Jace, but Jace was already picked up. So Lulex is just saying, who is Jace then in chat? So it looks like, yeah, Rumble in the top lane does make a lot of sense, has a lot of damage and can really help push out that lane. Against the Jace, he's going to struggle a little bit because of the hypercharge, the extra auto attack damage, and the range, of course, that you have on Jace. But we saw in the last matchup, if you can get to sort of mid to late game on that Rumble, you have a lot of damage in team fights, and the Equalizer can really help win your team a fight.
Yeah, Rumble is always a strange beast because he has the potential to either dominate his lane or do appallingly badly in his lane. But regardless of what happens in lane, he's always a strong team fighter. We did get to a point in chat as well there where it made perfect sense for Kasing to point out that LeBlanc is LeBlanc and Jace is Jace.
Yes, just to make sure that we understood exactly what was going on. Just going to rush through these picks and bans again so we get onto the Rift as soon as possible. Rumble in the top lane versus that Jace, we talked about that a little bit. About the jungle, Nocturne against Lee Sin. Lee Sin has a little bit more early pressure, but Nocturne, as soon as he gets level 6 and has that paranoia, really is going to be able to chase down onto this H2k team. Where do you expect him to focus most of his gank potential? Because most of these lanes actually have a relatively good escape.
Yeah, I'd imagine top lane would be the tempting target. With a Jace in the top, it extends quite a long way. In order to harass back against Rumble, he's probably going to put out a lot of AoE on the minions as well. So that's a lot of potential for pushing out, and Rumble can set you up very, very well, especially if he's hit his level 6. You don't need it so much for the Lee Sin. He's still a very, very big contributor, even if he's level 5 or level 4 going for that gank. So wouldn't expect to see... I'm not expecting to see like super early ganks like we used to see, like level 3, just because I don't believe Nocturne can sustain, and I certainly don't think a Lee Sin can sustain very well.
There is a current jungle path going with Lee Sin where you start on your Krugs, the golems, get those down really quickly, smiting them away, and then you go to your red buff and actually get Safeguard second as opposed to the Tempest Cripple. And it means that you can sustain yourself relatively well through red buff, and then you can rotate around to blue and your smite will be back up. So you can actually take that away. You do lose a little bit more health than you would have done in 4.19, but you don't have to go back between taking your 2 buffs, which is something we see Lee Sin players struggling on a little bit at the moment. Of course, Nocturne has that Umbra Blades passive, so he'll be able to sustain himself a little bit. I think it's every about 15 seconds or so. 10 seconds, but it's not anywhere near the amount of sustain that you see coming out from a Warwick or a Void Spikes Kha'Zix or something like that.
Yeah, I think, Umbra Blades is a weird one as well, because I think it lowers every time he auto-attacks. So you can get that enhancement. But regardless, we are going to be going into a quick break, I do believe, right now. So join us after the break. In the meantime, follow the Twitch channel, follow the Twitters, Black Monster Cup, all the rest, and we will be right back.
Hello guys and welcome back to the Black Monster Cup winter season. We're into this first game of the best of 3 quarterfinal between Gamers2 and H2k, and immediately we see quite defensive starts from both of these teams.
Yeah, I'm actually curious to see how the invade meta develops with this new jungle, because it seems like, especially with the fact that junglers now like to smite first, especially if they're doing something like Krug, where they get the, you get the bonus effect, the poison damage, for instance. Seems like that opens you up to steals a lot more, but at the moment I think everyone's still very much getting to grips with just clearing their own jungle before they start thinking about how to invade the enemy.
Well, we've seen a little bit in solo queue some of the more trolley professionals, so it's like Skara and I'm a Cutie Pie, been picking up actually Smite on a mid laner, and then placing a ward across towards the blue buff of the enemy, waiting until they get hit quite low, and then just walking across and smiting it away. So it's something that we are going to have to watch as the 4.20 patch develops and as preseason develops, but as you said, at the moment, people are more concerned about making sure they get their own jungle than worrying about trying to get into the enemies.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun actually to watch this game as it develops here. Looks like it's going to be Krugs to Krugs starts. And I am also curious, are Voidal and Hyanan going to go for golems? I'd expect them to. It's a big benefit.
It does. It gets you about half a level actually on both of those, but you have to take them relatively quickly because otherwise the enemy, especially someone like a Lucian Nami bot lane, can really push out that lane, almost get an entire wave before you're there. So the bonus XP you get of taking the Krugs in the bot lane doesn't really give you a huge amount if the enemy's already pushed up the lane.
Yeah, well, let's actually have a look at the moment and compare, because they are roughly on the same experience right now, but there's 2 extra minions sitting around for Hyanan and Voidal to take. That gives them the advantage as soon as they can clear the wave, which means Yuki and Kasing want to keep this pushed up with the wave in their advantage for as long as possible.
Especially with the all-in potential coming out from Hyanan and Voidal. Thresh level 2 is so strong if you can land the hook, if you can get a good fly off, but level 2 counteracted there by Yuki and Kasing. Nice hook onto Yuki, but there's too many minions there for Voidal to go in. And just let that hook timeout.
That was very... that was snaking its way up between minions, so very impressive indeed. Sign of things to come, perhaps. Hopefully not for Gamers2's sake.
Yeah, definitely, and nice little Aqua Prism there by Kasing on Hyanan. As he was trying to see us under tower, means that he's going to be denied a couple of those. Meanwhile, top lane, Odomwamne is taking a little bit of pressure here from JWoww. As he expected, Jace with a little bit of range advantage can harass down that Rumble, but the Dawn Shield start will keep him nice and sustained throughout the lane.
Yeah, Odomwamne is not the type of guy who's going to get solo killed in lane. He is such a versatile player, and I'd say more than anything else his strength is his laning. He does do everything outside of it as well, just as, very effectively, but he just doesn't lose lane unless he's forced to.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. He's a very good laner, but we talked about this a little bit in Champ Select. I wouldn't be surprised if Ku tries to get a few extra ganks off there. Not that much mobility on a Rumble, especially pre-6. You don't have any real escape. Equalizer gives you a little bit of a mini escape because you can slow your enemies down, as does the Electro Harpoon, but if Ku can get in there and get that fear tether off, Rumble's really going to have a hard time.
Continued aggressive trading in the bot lane is not going anywhere right now, but it looks like they're actually just going to stalemate each other for now. So, in fact, it looks like most of the lanes will.
But the Flay will go down. Kasing has got the Ignite on him, has to flash away. And as soon as you say it's a stalemate with H2k going very aggressive, it was an Aqua Prism into hook, but the hook, of course, having a slightly longer cooldown meant that he was able to get the fly off as well.
Yeah, that's a neat trick you can pull, is just throwing out your animation. The only weakness, of course, is if you go in for an aggressive trade like that. Obviously, this case is definitely worth it because Kasing has just dropped to almost nothing, but against a Nami, you've always got to be careful. But even if you're winning the trades, if you're not winning them hard enough, she's just going to out-sustain you.
The ebb and flow sustain is so big, and actually Kasing leveling that up you'd expect. Hasn't got the Tidecaller's Blessing yet, which can be really strong with a Lucian. You get 2 procs off your Light Slinger, but deciding to go for a little bit more sustain in that lane.
Ocelot needs to be careful. He just took a charm and a full combo, but he's got pots. He should be okay. Lulex is going top, but nothing doing right now.
Very calm early game, and kind of what you'd expect, really. The bot lane's where you're looking, and there's an Aqua Prism onto Voidal, but he does have hook available if he wants to go back in. Both of these junglers, Lee Sin used to be really strong as you came out of jungle early game, but now that the jungle's a little bit harder, you go quite low, and so it's a lot harder to get those early ganks off. Noxon, of course, really needs that level 6 to get any effective ganks off unless he can sneak around wards. He has just picked up the Scuttle Crab and going to go back, but at the moment, we do see Lulex trying to get onto Crixus here in the top lane. Crixus being relatively safe though. Does a good minion wave pushing towards Odomwamne's tower. and Lulix will just back away. But here comes Ku into the bot lane, going to try and get onto Hyanan and Voidal. Not sure he's going to be able to connect. Yuki goes in, but Voidal should just be able to walk out.
Yeah, nothing again. Both junglers stymied. Lulix in the top lane by the ward he passed by, and Ku just by the fact that Nocturne struggles to get close enough in this early stage.
He has gone for the Ranger's Trailblazer, though both of the junglers actually going for that, and we talked about the sustain in the jungle. That Ranger's Trailblazer is definitely going to help them out.
Yeah, it's in fact, I've seen probably 90% of the junglers. There are obvious exceptions, Warwick being the most notable, and Lulix now going in for the top lane.
Yeah, Equalizer came down, didn't connect quite as well on Crixus as they would like, and there's no dragon range here for Lulix. They're going to try and chase him under the tower, but he does have flash and will just flash away. Ku coming in from the side just to make sure that Jace is safe, and JWoww manages to escape. They have to be careful for Bibin in the jungle, but did get spotted out by that ward in Tribush.
Yeah, it actually looked like they were trying to set up on him, but they are setting up on Kasing.
Yeah, they are. Kasing going very low. One more auto attack will get it. Voidal gets the kill. Hyanan went low as well, but they can turn this onto Yuki. He doesn't have any mana. Voidal doesn't quite have that hook available. Still 6 seconds on that, so they won't be able to get onto the Lucian, but a very good trade there for H2k.
Yeah, maybe the aggression has actually worked against Kasing so far. He's been getting a lot of hooks caught on him when he's the one trying to get in position to start doing the harass job.
Oh, Ocelot does get charmed, though. He has to use that Mimic Distortion to get away.
Does successfully do so, loses half his health for the privilege, and nearly more as... I nearly called him Apto there, because there's an account in the Challenger ladder called Apto Dog, but no, for Bivin, he nearly got more damage, but was not able to do so. Actually looks to me like Ku... He's either going to like hold this here. Yeah, he's just going to hold this here, surely, for Ocelot.
Yep, looks like Ocelot is just going to come across. Will he? Yeah, 100. Yes, he will. He
there
will
we go.
Take that one. Oh, wait. Yep, there we go. Yes, he takes it away. Nice. Well, just what you expect, really, from the junglers at this sort of level. Forbidden got his blue buff. He needs to give Ocelot his so he can start roaming around, trying to get those reduced cooldowns off. And he does go straight on to Forbidden, does get charmed at the end, but this is the power of LeBlanc. You have a lot of mobility in that lane, and we saw him jumping straight onto Forbidden as soon as he got back.
And what's more, if you can trade ultimate for ultimate, you win every time as LeBlanc. She's on a 20-second cooldown. Her opponent, what, 60, 70 at best? And Lulix is actually in position here to sneak behind. Can Ku get paranoia in time?
That is the question. He's going to come in towards range. Crixus tries to jump away. Nice tracking range from Lulix, and Odawamne will get the kill. No paranoia at all there from Ku. He's just going to take his red buff away and accept that Jace has met his fate.
Yeah, red buff taking a little bit too long to take there for Ku, so he's got that red buff now, but I don't really see this being a fight that works in his favour.
There's an Ocelot coming up the river, though they might turn it on. There's the paranoia onto Lulix. He's going to not get the Fear Tether because of a good flash away, but here comes Ocelot, dives the tower, gets the kill. Meanwhile, Odawamne is trying to fight onto Ku. He will get that kill there. Electro Harpoon onto Ocelot. Can he escape? I'm not sure because he distorts away, but it's a double kill for Odawamne. And after what looked like an okay start there for Gamers2, they lose out a double kill to a Rumble.
You cannot stay that grouped up and ignore a Rumble at the same time. He was just doing way too much damage with the Flame Spitter on both of them. Neither of whom were tanky at this stage of the game. Maybe Nocturne will be one day, but for now, that just gave a 3-0 over to Odawamne's Rumble. He is now a very, very scary beast.
Yeah, sitting on 1,600 gold, so can go back, get that Haunting Guard. It's actually going straight for Sorcerer's Shoes. That's a lot of damage going to be coming out there, along with the Seeker's Arm Guard. Forbidden gets jumped on by Ku, but he'll just walk straight away from that one. Interestingly, we see Ku going for the Devour enchantment on his Stranger's Trailblazer, and the Warrior enchantment being picked up by Lulix. So Lulix will have a bit more burst damage straight away, whereas we see Ku wanting to farm his jungle for a little longer.
Yeah, it makes a decent amount of sense. Nocturne is a sustained damage threat, and Lee Sin is much more burst-oriented, so that definitely works out. But
here comes Lulix into bot lane. He gets prismed up, though, not under tower. Ooh, flash away there, Kasing will get hooked, and Yuki actually spelling the death of his support there, flashing away from the hook, means that Kasing will go down.
He has a sacrifice for the greater good of the team.
Yep.
And that's one of the weaknesses of Nocturne that we saw right there. He was in position to counter gank, but he has no threat if he has no paranoia, and the cooldown is enormous.
Absolutely huge. It's about 170 odd seconds or so, so almost 3 minutes on the cooldown of that, and compare that to things like the distortion, the mimic in the mid lane, which is about 20 seconds, or even Spirit Rush coming out from Ari, which is about 70, as you said before. Very, very difficult for him to actually have any effective pressure on this map.
Yeah, all of those types of skills, the semi-global or nearly global teleports and transportations have enormous cooldowns, because we've seen a meta game that revolves around such champions on short cooldowns.
Shen top lane, the Shen top lane, the Karthus mid lane, the good old days of Season 2 meta, and I think we'll all agree we're quite happy that we're not there anymore.
Yes, wherein map awareness was unnecessary in the face of the fact that the entire team could just drop on you from outer space.
Yeah. We do see Kasing trying to roam up through the middle of the river just to spot out if Forbidden's around. They will be able to spot this ward, so they can clear that out whenever they want to. Forbidden is just going to back away, and I expect to see a dragon fight coming out relatively soon here from H2k. They've got a very top laner who's got his teleport available. They have a lot of damage on that jungler as well with the warrior enchant, and the BF sword picked up on Hyana, and he's going... Actually, looks like he's going to get his Berserker boots next, which is something we quite commonly see. He's actually got attack speed in his runes and masteries as well, going for about 14% buff on that, so obviously valuing the extra few auto attacks he can get off rather than finishing that IE. Here comes ult into top lane though. Odawamne's going to get jumped on. Krix is so low. Ku has got that fear tether. And here comes Jay. Wow, Shock Blast will connect, but can they chase under tower? They can't. And Odawamne, in what was a great 2v1 for the side of Gamers2, doesn't pay with his life.
No, doesn't even use a flash or anything. There will be a dragon play in return immediately. That is a very, very simple 8% to gain. Odawamne even has the pot and even did so much damage to JWoww. He's not even being dislodged here. He can stick around.
And definitely stick around. Needs to be careful for all those Shock Blast combos, because they will still deal quite a lot with that Brutalizer. But JWoww actually has to be careful in response, because Odawamne has shown how much damage he can put down in a very short period of time. Meanwhile, Ocelot tries to jump onto Lulux, but Lulux will just safeguard away to that ward, and that's sort of the story of the day for Ocelot at the moment. Hasn't really been able to do a huge amount on that LeBlanc.
Yeah, and that is a big, big problem. Because when you see people like Ryu running that LeBlanc, they create picks for their teams. They don't rely on their team to create the opportunities for them, because if you're going to do that, you might as well play Ari. She can assassinate people just as well and has much, much better late game. And a LeBlanc that isn't snowballing early since she lost the silence, ooh, she does not do that well in the late game. She
does not do that well at all, although she is going to jump onto Forbidden here. Doesn't land the tether. Forbidden is dodging all over the place. The ignite is enough, and that was some really good Ari play in the mid lane.
Yeah, Forbidden, again, he knew what was coming, and the positioning of the minions there basically ruined Ocelot's chance to escape.
And
JWoww.
JWoww needs to be careful to see if he can escape here. He cannot, because Lulux absolutely destroys him. Lots of attack damage on that Lee Sin. 160 damage actually on him at the moment, and that's almost as much as the AD carries in the bot lane. Yeah,
they're going to have to respect Lulux right now. His damage is very, very high. In fact, pretty much the entire team is just doing very, very well. Yeah. Yuki may be actually slightly out farming Hyanan, but that's not enough to make a big difference.
Yeah, especially with Hyanan getting that kill earlier on as well, along with the assist. Yuki is actually a little bit behind on gold, about 500 behind in that lane, which isn't massive, but it's enough when you're looking at this sort of point of the game where everyone's hitting their item thresholds. If you can hit a threshold a minute and a half before your enemy, you can start pushing those global advantages, pushing towers. With Dragon up relatively soon as well, we have to expect them to be rotating towards that as well. It's about 3.5 minutes on that Dragon.
Yeah, there's even an issue here for Gamers2 in that they are not going to have a great deal of opportunity to create those picks against a team like this, with the rumble, with the mobility, with Thresh getting them out the way of the culling, which is going to do nothing.
They're diving a tower in the top lane. Wow. wow, he does so much damage. Gone for the needlessly large rod as well. And JWoww can do nothing about the fact that Ottawamne just walked up to his tower and equalized the fight.
Rumble, ladies and gentlemen, wherein he is incredibly strong with a lot of AP.
Yeah, that he is. And Lulux tried to get into the bot lane for a gank, wasn't quite able to connect because Voidal missed that death sentence to the side. We're going to see a lot of pressure coming out from H2k onto this bot lane tower, be able to pick that one up for themselves.
Yeah, they are going to be respecting
Possibility.
possibility.
Curse right there.
Every time, just never make a prediction. It's fine. By the way, I'm predicting H2k 2-0s this series. Yeah. But all right,
you're going to be the Artosis of Black Monster Cup. H2k are now going to lose 0-2.
I don't see how they lose this game, at least at this point. It's possible, definitely, but not very likely.
For Bivin landing the landing the kill is all we can really say there. Ocelot got absolutely destroyed. What do you think of in cooldown boots here onto Forbidden on that army?
Well, I think that Yuki has just died, and
yes,
Kasing...
I totally missed that. Yeah, Kasing is not in a good position here. There he goes. The bubble not going to connect there. Lulux is going to chase with the red buff, and Kianan will get the kill. 2-0 on that Graves now.
So in other shocking and exciting news, I think the main reason basically that it's Forbidden has gone for this high cooldown build is just basically so he's got his ult up as often as possible to respond to any attempt to pick him off, and that means he can actually play like a really aggressive split pushing style. That's why he's been pushing out solo so much, and synergize that pressure with the rest of the team who are all ahead. It's going to be really hard for Gamers2. And
Koo gets destroyed. JWoww stands in the bush and says, yeah, you're just dead, mate. I can't really do much for you there. We do see Ocelot trying to rotate up towards it. Pings out onto Ottawamne, but nothing doing at all. Ottawamne backs away.
Yep. No hope at that stage, and a 1-3 LeBlanc probably can't take him solo anyway. He is pretty strong. Is Forbidden gonna get this?
Yes. Yes is the answer.
Yes.
He
did.
There's
has
no
gotten
doubt
him.
that Forbidden is going to get that 3-0, 5-0 in that top lane as well. And at the moment, you cannot see a way that Gamers2 get back into this. Crix is dead. He's given
Juke.
up. Like, he
juked the hook, man.
He juked the hook by teleporting to his death. Yeah. 14-1 for H2k.
I think Gamers2 may be writing this particular game off. This is
get
best
that
of 3.
feeling, don't you?
Yeah. When he does the TP, it was like high tier TP, but that was a challenger play that we mere mortals cannot possibly understand. But
there was probably some sort of mechanically sound reason why you would do that. No, I cannot think of a mechanic.
Yeah, no, I don't think we can say that with a straight face, or someone on Reddit is going to take us seriously.
Oh, flash play onto Ku, and Ku is going to go down straight away. Gets hooked into the boss. Collateral damage comes in, picks up the kill. 10,000 gold the lead, 19 minutes into this game, and H2k a dominant force to be reckoned with.
I think the biggest problem here for Gamers2 is that they just let them have too many comfort picks. Like, they've given over Rumble to Ottawamne, they've given Ahri to Forbidden. Lulux is like, he used to be apparently known as a one-trick pony, Lee Sin. Like, he has 2 or 3 times as many games on Lee Sin as any other jungler.
Yeah.
And they get what in return? They get LeBlanc. I mean, okay, in specific comps, she's fine, but she's not a great meta pick. Or you get Nocturne, who again, certain comps fine, otherwise not so much. Jace is good, yeah, but generally you want to run him mid, and you don't want to get him counterpicked by Ahri and then get forced to put him top, where he gets dumpstered by Rumble. Like, their picks and bans here were just really, really dodgy.
I mean, definitely were. I mean, you can see where they were coming from. You can see what was happening. The Lucian Nami bot lane, Nocturne in the jungle is quite strong these days, but the surrender vote is going to come out, and the first game of this best of 3 in the quarterfinals of the Black Monster Winter Season Cup. That was an interesting way of putting that. The first game will go to